Welcome to the Goalmouth, ladies and gents, the 5-minute-ish daily soccer podcast that definitely wouldn't sack its manager if it won us the league. I'm Ryan Bailey, it's Friday, February 24th, or as I like to refer to it, the birthday of former Scotland goalkeeper Neil Sullivan. Happy birthday, Sully. And on today's pod, Claudio Ranieris is gone, Wayne Rooney is staying, the Man City player who cost one fan $36,000, the former Premier League star who trumped Trump, and Karim Benzema's lizard-touching woes. And no, that's not a euphemism. First up, as you've surely heard by now, yesterday evening, Leicester City sacked Claudio Ranieri. Just 9 months after the lovable Italian delivered one of the most unlikely title wins in sporting history, he's been left with nothing. Except the adoration of most right-thinking football fans, all the free time in the world, and millions of pounds in compensation. Yeah, nothing. In all seriousness though, if I may editorialise this for a second, I actually think it was the right call to let him go. Yes, he deserves endless praise for what he achieved, and it's undoubtedly the fault of the players rather than the manager that they're in this position, but the fact is the club are dangerously close to slipping into the relegation quagmire, and action needed to be taken. He can't have a job for life just because he won the league. Of course, there was plenty of emotive tweeting as the news broke yesterday, with Fox's legend Gary Lineker saying, "After all that Claudio Ranieri has done for Leicester, to sack him now is inexplicable, unforgivable, and gut-wrenchingly sad." And former Daily Mirror editor and waste of blood and organs Piers Morgan wrote, "Claudio Ranieri sacked for winning the Premier League. This is the week football ate itself." Okay, Piers. He wasn't sacked for winning the Premier League. He was given the FIFA Coach of the Year award for that. He was sacked for leading a team capable of winning the league towards relegation. Please try to be better at facts in future. Next up, there's been a lot of speculation linking Wayne Rooney to the Chinese Super League, whose transfer deadline is coming up next Tuesday. But McDonald's restaurants in Shanghai no longer need to be on call, as the man himself has issued a statement insisting he's staying with Manchester United. "I hope I'll play a full part in helping the team in its fight for success on 4 fronts, he said. Yeah, and I hope Emily Blunt knocks on my door and offers to run away with me, Wayne, but that ain't happening either. Personally, I think Rooney's made an error by turning down the CSL here, because he's basically got no other options. By staying at United, he'll be benched for all but the small games, getting less match fit and less attractive to potential suitors. His wages are too high for any other Premier League side, he's not good enough for the big Spanish teams, he's too old and expensive for MLS, and the PSG boat sailed years ago. China is basically his only choice. He should have gone while the iron was hot. But hey, getting 375 grand a week to sit around and occasionally have existential crises with Bastian Schweinsteiger can't be all that bad. Betting update now. After Man City's mental 5-3 win over Monaco earlier this week, a fan in Dusseldorf tweeted a betting slip that showed an accumulator with a 4-2 win for Atletico Madrid and a 4-3 win for City. If those scores had held, the fan would have won €34,200 from a €2 stake. But as we know, Leroy Sane scored to make it 5-3 to City, and therefore the bet was completely null and void. Sane basically owes this guy €34,198, or about $36,000, but instead, he just tweeted him an apology. And this might be the first time a player has had to apologise for scoring a goal in a thrilling Champions League game. Competition time now! This week on the Goalmouth pod, we're giving away a subscription to Howler Magazine. Looks great on your coffee table, and it's a brilliant read too. We've been giving you a word a day to build a sentence, and the final word of that sentence is kimchi. Kimchi, you know, like the Korean vegetable thing. And yes, that's probably not the word you were expecting if you've been following along. We're tricky like that. But if you've got the complete sentence now, visit fifa.wtf/hellogoalmouth to enter. That site again, fifa.wtf/hellogoalmouth. If you don't have the complete sentence and you want that subscription, you got 2 options. Go and buy one or listen back through this week's pods. Come on, you're listening to a soccer podcast right now. Don't act like you're busy or anything. Moving on now to the former Premier League player who successfully sued Donald Trump. French midfielder Olivier played with Everton and Leeds at around the turn of the millennium, reaching the Champions League semi-finals with the latter. Yeah, remember when Leeds were in the Champions League semis? And according to the New York Times, he was also one of the earliest investors in Trump Soho, a luxury hotel project in Lower Manhattan, and he put down $460,000 on a unit which cost $2.3 million in total. But like so many of the president's deals, it didn't actually happen. He was sued, and he had to pay out. And finally, important news that hasn't been covered elsewhere on the Goalmouth pod this week. Karim Benzema has been fined for picking up an iguana. I'll give you that one more time. Karim Benzema has been fined for picking up an iguana. Or an iguana, if that's how you like to pronounce things. Anyway, the Real Madrid star was pictured on vacation in Martinique during the winter break, proudly holding up an iguana by the scruff of its neck. Trouble is, they're a bit like Jack Wilshere. They're endangered and you're not allowed to touch them in case they get injured. To be fair, it's not quite as big a crime as extorting teammates with sex tapes, allegedly hiring underage ladies of the night, or street racing, but it still goes in the big Benzema book of misdemeanors. So that's the show, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Do enter our Howler subscription competition. Do subscribe to the Goalmouth email if you haven't already. And I'll love you forever and ever and ever if you leave us an iTunes review. It really does help the cause. Brooks Peck is going to be with you on Monday's show. I leave you with today's Goalmouth top tip. Sometimes you wish you could sack the entire team, but you gotta sack the manager. That's life. Love to you, mothers. See you next time.